national champion has been crowned. The Ohio State Buckeyes are now the national champions in college football in what was the toughest national championship to ever win in the history of college football. They had to go through Tennessee. They had to go through Oregon. Then they had to go through Texas. Then they had to go through Notre Dame. And that's all after playing 12 regular season games. This was a hell of a performance by them, 34-23. But here is the truth. Ohio State did exactly what they were supposed to do. The best roster in college football, NIL all over the place, a lot of returning seniors on defense. Then you get the Caleb Downs transfer. You got everything, number one recruiting classes, everything. This is what Ohio State was supposed to do. Everybody, sans me, picked them to win the national championship going into the season. That was the prohibitive favorite, and they won. Duh. I mean, this is actually what was supposed to happen at the end of the season. And here's the other part is you can't say that they didn't earn it, even though that this is what they were supposed to do. And it wasn't easy. And this team, the players on this team, Ryan Day, they had to keep this team from falling off the tracks after they lost to Oregon, after they lost to Michigan. They could have fallen apart, but they didn't. They found a way to rally together, make plays when it mattered the most, and they got themselves a national championship. But let's talk about this game right here because we actually got to start at the end of the game because Ryan Day's his sphincter got about that tight again, where him and Chip Kelly almost found a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. What were they doing at the end of the game? And running the ball with Will Howard. This is prior to the Jeremiah Smith 56-yard catch. They get into a 3rd down and 11 and then just chunk the ball up and pray for rain. And Jeremiah Smith, the best player in college football, is like, thank you. Thank you. That was it. That was not good offense. That was not smart play. It was give up time. You had been having success running the ball with Quinshon Judkins, who was 11 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and with Trayvon Henderson at 12 for 48, 9 yards to carry and 4 yards to carry. But you're like, let's just student body right, student body left with Will Howard when they're in zero coverage. And then on 3rd down. Now, granted, you can't blame Notre Dame for trying to heat them up, and you're just hoping that you get pressure and then Will Howard throws the ball out of bounds or something, which is very likely. But this was a really good performance by both teams, honestly. This was Notre Dame. This was Ohio State. There was one important thing that Ohio State did in this game. They allowed virtually no pressure on Will Howard the entire game. He was standing back there clean as a whistle on pass plays. That makes it extremely tough to stop this defense. Oh, sorry, this offense. Because they are going to dink and dunk you all over the place. If you notice, they didn't take shots down the field all game until when it mattered the most, and they didn't have a choice because they weren't going to be able to run it again. And they prayed for rain, and rain fell into the arms of the man who is going to be the most expensive free agent in college football this year in Jeremiah Smith. Now, I know that a lot of people are like, oh, man, he's absolutely going back to Ohio State. I mean, yeah, because the boosters are going to pay the cash, but you already know his agent and his representatives are fielding phone calls, so they know how much Ohio State has to pay. And you guys can hop in the comments here. How much would you pay for Ohio State's Jeremiah Smith if you were a team in the world of college football? How much would you pay? Would you pay $3 million? Would you pay $4 million? To get and honestly, it's even more than getting him. It's keeping him away from Ohio State. Honestly, that's actually a more beneficial proposition is keeping him away from them as much as it is getting him. Because when you can just chunk the ball up and down like that, and if you're his representatives, you have to be listening. Why would you not? Oh, well, George, where's his loyalty? All right, let's peep this part out. Jeremiah Smith already got you a national championship. If he were draft eligible, he'd be a top 5 pick right now. But he's got to slum it in college for 2 more years. So, being that the fact he's got to slum it in college, what would you? I mean, I'm trying to get the most that I can make right now because I would be on the way to a second contract already if I were in the NFL. And so I'm actually excited about how this whole offseason is going to transpire. You are going to see, from rumors that I've heard, some players from Notre Dame hop in the transfer portal and potentially from Ohio State too. But let's talk about this Ohio State offense. The Quinshawn Judkins edition from the transfer portal, the Will Howard edition, and I actually think that they probably would have been better with their quarterback last year, who went Kyle McCord in terms of throwing the football, but that's a whole nother story. Ohio State lost 2 starting linemen this year. We're able to plug and play. Is that a thing? Yes. But when you look at their recruiting classes, number ones in the last 4 years, you should be able to do that sort of thing. And they got a transfer in their transfer center, even though he ended up getting hurt, but he was playing at an All-American level. This team is deep and they have depth. But this was the hardest national championship to win. And Ryan Day has gotten a monkey off of his back. He has gotten the Ohio State fans, you can't talk no more about firing this man, nothing, because he has given you what you actually wanted more than anything, which is a national championship. And not only that, you followed up Michigan. So Michigan thought they had the ups on you. And then they beat you this season, and then you're like, 7 dice, national championship. So now you're in a better position than Michigan is right now. So all them people that are like, oh, it means more beating Michigan. Are you sure right now? Are you sure it means more than beating Michigan right now? That's the question if you are Ohio State. Does it actually mean more? Which one of them is more important to you? Is it beating Michigan or is it winning a national championship? Because let's look at the field that was in this national championship. You had names: Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State, SMU, Penn State, Indiana, Notre Dame, Oregon, Boise State, Arizona State, Georgia. Uh, dude, this was insane the gauntlet that you had to run. And Ryan Day, with his dyed beard, got his opportunity. And this is actually much the same for Notre Dame, who played in the national championship in 2012. They made multiple appearances in the college football playoff, but this year is different. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Notre Dame, they haven't won since 1988. This is much of the same for them. No, it's not. Marcus Freeman has something going because you don't run through and beat Georgia and Indiana and Penn State without having something going. So as soon as he gets a quarterback who can throw the football, this is no knock on Riley Leonard. He did a good job leading them there. But Notre Dame probably should have gotten into the throw the ball mode a little bit earlier in the game because Riley Leonard was effective. I know that that's not his go-to and his strength. And early on, he was airmailing balls. You're like, where the hell are you throwing the ball to? But that first drive where Notre Dame went up 7-0, 9 minutes and 45 seconds, 18 plays, hell of a drive, up 7-0. And you're like, oh, did we find something? Because that level of physicality showed that they were here to play. And this is how you ended up in a game. It ended up a 10-point game, right? I'm sorry, 11-point game. But this game could have turned very easily. If Notre Dame makes that field goal, different ball game. If Notre Dame, if Notre Dame can score after that, yeah, after that fumble, we got a whole different ball game. But credit to Ohio State, they got stops when it mattered the most. And this was a tough pill to swallow. Tough pill to swallow for Notre Dame because you do not know when you are going to be back in this position. Um, but this game though, and I told you guys that this game was going to be on the heels of which quarterback. Well, number one, which team could run the football, and Notre Dame could not run the football tonight. This was they got stoned. 26 carries for 53 yards. However, though, they did not even like push the run button as much as you would have wanted them to. Riley Leonard, 17 carries. Jadarian Price, 3 carries. Jeremiah Love, 4 carries. And I'm going to tell you, if I was Jeremiah Love, I'm not sure how happy that I would be with that. The kid's a sophomore. That's a name to watch out for in the transfer portal, people. Watch it. And remember that you heard it here first. So there's also a scenario where next year Notre Dame is right back in this mix. But I think that we can call the playoff a success when the number 1 seed didn't win, the number 2 seed didn't win, and you had number 7 versus number 8 in the championship. So for all those people that are like, "Oh, there will be no upsets," no, well, you got it. And we're going to talk tomorrow about how to fix the entire college football playoff. But this was a huge win for Ohio State. Ryan Day, who people had unrealistic expectations for. Yes, the roster is so good. Yes, it's Ohio State. But there are very few coaches in the history of college football, particularly in the modern era, that have won a national championship in under 6 years. People have that expectation for Marcus Freeman would have been so far ahead of schedule. Same thing if Dan Lanning had won. Kirby Smart didn't win till year 6. It takes a minute for you to figure out your errors in your ways. And Ryan Day figured out. Well, actually, I thought he figured out, but they tried it at the end of the game where he figured out how not to get his team tight. They came out loose. They played well. Got the win 34-23. And you guys, if you guys can hop in the chat, like, subscribe, tell a friend about the Unafraid Show. And and it said the foundation made payroll, right? Yes, yes. The Ohio State boosters, donors, NIL club, they are like, yes, we bought it. We paid for it. And it worked. So you know what next year? They are going to be doing the same thing because it worked. It's like the Dodgers. Dodgers just won a World Series, and what did they do? Go out and sign Blake Snell, go out and sign the other Japanese pitcher. They're trying to get all the pitchers. They already got all the hitting. Winning just reinforces whatever you got to do to go win the next year. But you guys, though, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. This is the Unafraid Show. Make sure that you guys come back tomorrow. We are going to talk about how to fix college football. 4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern time. Peace out. Catch you guys later.